Open your ears, I promise this will take a second. Put you on game, my brother, teach you valuable lesson. Respect yourself, we happy, no need to reminisce. No need to worry, you chillin' with men with confidence. Speak your mind, say what's up with your life. We can teach you wrong for right and take the darkness out your life. So what's good? What's good? It ain't nothing but a small thing. Have a seat, you can talk to us about anything. Money's, cars, sports, or maybe your business. Positive goals in your life support better living. A pep talk to the ones who in the darkest hour. Remember, sunlight comes after a rain shower. There's nothing wrong with the man who take notes. Don't take this as a joke, these words are well spoken. Teammates, cause we playing to win. I have a seat at this table with some men with confidence.
And welcome to Confidence Sharing, where we, the men of a certain age, share our thoughts, ideas, and opinions in confidence. Today, we're joined by not the whole crew. We have Terrence, we have myself, Tony, the host, and we have Sean. So we're just going to go one by one and say hello to everyone. So hello, Sean.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
And hello, Terrence.
Greetings and salutations as always, good people.
Yes, they are good people. Okay, so we're going to continue our series of the 10 Men Commandments. 10 things that all men should do or know or have in their arsenal. And we're going to talk about being an asset. Why should all men be an asset? But before I throw that question out, I feel like that deserves a little bit of explanation. What exactly is being an asset? Okay, so being an asset is basically being useful, being a servant, or being a help, not just to you, to your family. I would even say to your community, to the world as a whole. Like, it doesn't do you any good as a man if you're only good to yourself, right? You know, I don't want to say that's being selfish, because you can just be good to yourself, but one thing that men should be is being an asset to more than themselves, to each other, to women, to family, to community, to the world, I would say. So, just with that preface, now we'll ask the question, why is it important that men be an asset?
So, as a man, we are oftentimes looked upon as the person that everyone else leans into, the person that everyone else depends upon. And if your mentality is, I'm looking out for myself and that's all I'm worried about, then you're not really being an asset to anyone. Because even though you may help yourself in certain situations, or you may accomplish certain things, or feel like you've conquered something, have you really garnered or gained anything that's going to sustain and leave an impact beyond your time here? Being an asset means being not important. I think you said it well, being a servant, being of service to someone else. And being of service to other people doesn't necessarily have to be a demeaning or degrading thing. I think sometimes people feel like being of service is like, I'm not doing that for them. What's in it for me? Why I got to be looking out for some? It's important to be of service to other people, because that's how you grow. That's how you gain a different perspective. That's how you become better, because sometimes it's just important to take that step back and reroute your energy into somewhere else, because by doing that something for someone else, that could be a blessing to that person, and you may receive something unexpected in return. So being an asset to others absolutely is an important trait for any good man.
Yeah, I had to agree with that. And Tony said the preface when he was saying that. We hear those terms. You hear those terms thrown around all the time. Asset. The other term is liability. That's the second and the opposite to that. So, liability sounds exactly like it is. It's one of those things. When you fire liability out, most people know, yeah, I know what that is. Even if you only know it in reference to your insurance on your car. I only got liability on my car, but you have, you know what it means. It's basically a detriment once you just have it so that the car is get paid off. That's what it is in insurance wise. Now in life wise, it's dragging folks down, or not dragging folks down. I'll say just not being like Terrence was saying, not being useful. It is not being, of service, of use. I was immediately brought to the terms of, I remember overhearing my first conversation back in high school. Young ladies on the bleachers behind me, they're not talking to me. They're just talking amongst themselves. It was the first time I heard the term thrown around that has now become a major movie and book, and I think everything, or a stage play or whatever. I Can Get Bad by Myself. That's in reference to women, but it was one of those, especially if we as Black folk, we definitely embrace that. And you don't want to do that. You can do that to yourself, but it's like, first off, you want to be an asset to you. You can do bad by yourself. You want to be an asset to yourself. And the second thing, you want to be an asset. I definitely say be an asset to your family. I think it's something that has been lost in recent times among men. We don't set out to be assets anymore. We just want to get along. We want to do the very minimum. If anything, we want stuff done for us. If we can get, the more we can get done for us, then the less, we have to try to be an asset to our family, to our jobs, and things like that. I'm reminded again, another thing I wanted to say, I've had resumes that way. I love putting on a resume when they ask, what is your goals? What do you want to do on this job? And don't get me wrong, or why should we pick you over somebody else? And these are questions that like to trip you up on an interview. But I don't know where it came from. Sitting in that one interview one particular day, and I'm writing down, and I'm like, I want to get into the company and learn all of its core values and be a valuable asset to the company. And it sounds good on paper too, from that standpoint, but it also is a thing. I've actually had the opportunity to do that as well, and it actually feels good, especially on your job, when you can be an asset. They don't have to like you, but they need you, and sometimes that feels better. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're like, I don't even have to worry about whether or not y'all can't get rid of me, because you need me. I have stepped myself up to being that type of an asset within this company where you can't get rid of it. And it's the same thing. I guess it leads to pride, to be able to stick your chest out and say, I know and I'm confident that I'm an asset to this company, this family, myself.
Okay, so I'm going to take a word that I heard you say, and I'm going to run with it for a little bit. The word liability. Let's talk about liability before we talk about being an asset. One thing that this world will not stand for is a grown man being a liability. You want to find a quick way to being homeless, penniless, clothless, nothing to wear, nothing to eat, no place to go. Keep the balance sheet in the red. Like, keep being a liability for someone where they have to give to you. And I'm not trying to make, like, okay, so we do this a lot for the young men and for men our age, and to try to give direction. I don't want to make young men think that the world doesn't care. But the world doesn't care.
I knew there was a but. I knew there was a but. You can feel it in the air. But
a big one coming.
Big one coming.
The world doesn't care. As a whole, the world doesn't care. That doesn't mean that there are not people in the world that may care about you, but the world as a whole doesn't care. That's why it's very important for you to have your circle of manly men out there that have your back, that's going to hold you up when things get rough. Because as a whole, society is not built to hold you up when things get rough. Society expects for you to hold it up when things get rough. But I just wanted to focus on, do not be a liability. Not for a long period of time. Please don't. Okay, now being an asset is very important. You have to be useful, because that's what men are loved for, their productivity, for what they produce, what they make, what they're good at, money, status, goods and services. Like, young men, I know you want everybody to care about your personality, but they don't care about your personality.
There was another moment where that butt was in the background.
I'm trying not to be the dismal cloud.
Yeah, you're close. I can hear the cynicism
I'm
building up with.
I'm trying not to be the dismal cloud in here.
He's got one or two left. He's trying not to be the cloud. Get
Rain on him, man.
Yeah,
Make it rain.
What was the name of the What was the name of the Smurf that was never happy?
Grumpy Smurf.
Grumpy Smurf.
Yeah, Grumpy. Yeah,
you know, like,
Grumpy.
Hey Grumpy, I got Smurfberry pie. I hate Smurfberry pie. I'm trying not to be a grumpy Smurf. But the reality is, to the world, your feelings don't matter. To a lot of society, your feelings don't matter. To a lot of people that you care about, your feelings don't matter. To a lot of people that's close to you, your feelings don't matter. That doesn't mean that your feelings don't matter. It means that a lot of people don't take them into consideration, and they put other things that you do ahead of it. So don't focus on what the world is not doing for you. Find a few real people that have your back, lean on them, and don't put that expectation on the rest of everybody else, because they're not going to have it. Because most people will judge you by what you can do for them, what you can produce, what kind of an asset you are. That is that's going to lead to your legacy, shall I say. And that's one of the reasons why it is important to be an asset, because that's how you will be remembered. A lot of times you will be remembered more for what you've done than who you are. Not trying to be grumpy again, but that's just the truth, unfortunately. And I'll stop before I just pour rain and.
I was going to say, somebody reach out and grab Grumpy's mic, please.
Somebody stop him.
Somebody grab Grumpy's mic and stop and cut him off before he runs out of them last 2 F's he's got in there, and then he's gonna go off. But I mean, I get where he's coming from. I guess I agree and I don't, but I guess my only point from a standpoint is just that I can see how when we talk about this particular subject, it does become kind of a personal thing, and it is a personal thing for me too. Being an asset is something you want to do for yourself, because it kind of can't be taken from you. Once you know what you're worth, it kind of leads to that worth. It leads to the pride. It leads, and they can't get that. That's going to be something that's going to be so invaluable to you. And once you make yourself an asset and you get that pride and you get your self-worth, it can't be, taken from you from that standpoint unless you allow it to. But it goes a long way for that, and it is a personal thing. It is a thing that it's not necessarily about other people. It may show in your works. I mean, of course, you being an asset, like I was saying about a job, like I was saying about being a family, If you're the main breadwinner for your family, that makes you an asset to your family. And I understand that, so your works will be seen, but for your inner self, for your pride and your self-worth, it goes a long way, I think, to feed that. Yeah, folks will, because as far as people, they only see in what you do, but you gotta also have that self-worth to know that that's what makes it worth you going to be the asset, not necessarily to do for other people, not necessarily to start thinking in a status where, well, I'm gonna go do all that for a whole bunch of people. I saw my dad work. I've heard that before from people, just in general, men in general. Saw my dad work himself to the bone, to the death. I ain't doing that for XYZ or whatever. And they're forgetting the factor of dad had a pride and a self-worth to him that nobody could take away, because he knew that he was an asset. He knew what he could do and what levels he could go in. You know what I'm saying? And that is, I know I'm getting a little bit tripped up with it myself here, but that's kind of what I mean, from it. That's why I do it. That's what I want out of it. That's why I work so hard. That's why I want to be in that position. It's not, just about, I feel like y'all gonna take for me and things like that. That's gotta keep you grounded, because that I will admit, of course you'll get into a mode where you're like, I ain't doing all that. I ain't working myself like that and crazy and this and that. I ain't trying to be up here in this company or whatever for the man and this, that, the other thing. Of course you'll get there, and you'll try to take everything that you can take, and get people to do for you, and never want to do and get yourself to that place where you can be an asset, because you ain't worried about it. I can understand that. If you start worrying about what people and what, I get it, what they'll take from you, but you're still in control. That's, we want to go back to another one that we had talked about, being in control, right? You still got that control. You got your self-control to be in control of yourself, to not get to that level where you let it feel like that and you know what it is you want.
Okay, so for me, I get where you're coming from, Sean, with the whole being an asset applies to knowing your worth. And it's true. I absolutely agree with knowing your worth, because that is something that is crucial to knowing who you are, what you bring to the table. And, it's like knowledge. It's one of those things that no one can take from you. For me, I don't want to put too negative of a spin on it either, because we are more than what we can do and what we can provide for people. As men, there's so much more to us than just those things. Being an asset just means that you are able to provide, you are able to produce, you are able to do a bunch of stuff, which is great. But sometimes being an asset just means you are able to relate to people. Sometimes being an asset means that you are able to be a sounding board for somebody else. You're able to, I think I talked about this in one of our other episodes, where just being available to somebody else is a courageous thing, and that can make you an asset. Everybody needs a right-hand man. Everybody needs somebody that they can kind of lean on and count on and know that they can go to and talk to that person in confidence. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's not gonna get shared with anybody else, and they're going to get good advice. They're going to get good insights, a good perspective. Those types of things also make you an asset, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a really good thing. People invest in assets like that. People protect assets like that. People will do a lot of really mind-blowing things for assets that they feel are that important. So, and I'm not saying you do be an asset because you're looking to get something out of it, but that's not a bad perk that comes with it.
Cool. So I like the thought of being an asset that is not financial, right? I like the thought of being a humanitarian, to let me pause and let me rewind a bit. Okay, so this is why this is important, because of this group and what we're trying to do. It is important for black men to be an asset for black men.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Because we're the only one that really understands our plight, and we can see pitfalls for others and help them avoid them. There are so many issues going on in the black community today. I'm not even going to try to name any of them. Right? There's plenty. And this ain't me being grumpy. Grumpy Smurf is left the building, by the way. It's not me being Grumpy Smurf. But there's a lot of issues in the black community. But I feel that even the issues that appear to be woman-centric, I feel that the solution starts with the men, because we are considered to be the leaders. And I don't mean lead by bossing around or ordering, because we've actually discussed this in another episode. But lead by example, and lead by being the first one out the door. And I feel like it's important for us to pour into each other, to be an asset to our fellow brothers, to lift them up, to teach them, to show them the way, and to prevent them from feeling hurts that we felt back when we were young. Hey, there's a pitfall here when you turn 18. Step over that. Don't fall into that. There's a pitfall here, with your, I know you love her. Like, I know you love her, but hey, be careful. But, and we'll talk about that later.
That's upcoming.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on another.
Get into that.
Okay. But there has to be a community of us. There has to be a community, a bond, a sharing. I was about to be political. I'm like, it's almost. No, I'm not even going to do that. I might get flagged. But almost.
Oh gosh.
I was about to say it's almost socialist in a way. But
okay, I got you.
Where you're basically you're sharing ideas, you're sharing resources, you're sharing knowledge, and you're doing as much, not just to make yourself better, but the next brother beside you better. Because when you do that, he's going to do the same for you.
Kind of goes back to that whole each one teach one in order to reach one kind of thing.
Right. I mean, I didn't even think about it from a standpoint, this is what we're trying to do with this. We're trying to be assets to all of our listeners, to everybody that's tuning in, that listens to us. We want to be assets to y'all. We want to be useful. We want you to take this information, be able to go and do something with it. And even if it's, Sean don't know what he's talking about, I'm gonna throw that away. I heard him. At least you heard something I said to do the opposite. And if that works for you, then I'm good with that.
So there's a lot of fish in the water, right? And we want to fish.
Right.
And I could get a fish for you, but if you teach a man to fish, then we all get fish. About to sound like George Bush a little bit.
Yeah, I'm about to say, try it, boy.
It's better to teach a man to fish for himself than to actually go and grab the fish for him. If you feed him one time, he eats that one time. But if you teach a man to fish, he can eat for the rest of his life.
There you go.
I knew what I was saying. I was just trying to be funny.
I got where you were going with that. I just fool me once.
Like there's a lot of fish. Yeah, fool me once, fool me twice.
Fool me once. Shame on you.
Fool me twice. Well, see, you can't keep fooling me. You understand?
Right.
You just can't keep fooling me.
Oh man. Okay. That might be
good. That's hysterical. But at the end of the day, if for nothing else, being an asset, I mean, if it can bring this much joy and laughter to people, there's definitely something to being an asset, because we have had a good time talking about being an asset. All jokes aside, it's really been fun.
We have
So
time with y'all.
that's good for something.
Right.
And the objective was to be good for something versus good for nothing. So if I can put a little bow on this conversation with that, I'm trying.
Yeah, I'll just say that our hope and our attempt is to make this an asset to everyone. Hopefully this helps somebody. Hopefully this gives someone direction. Hopefully this helps the community. Hopefully this helps some black man, or black older man, or some young black man trying to find his way.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're all smiles and giggles over here. So with that, I'm going to toss it to Terrence for the closing.
Oh man, as always, thank y'all for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Deuces.
Bye, y'all.
2 fingers.